Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Saturday morning practice. Good morning, Rebecca. We'll be spending the next hour and a half together, exercising, meditating, stretching, and so forth. We alternate from week to week. I talk a great deal about the 8 limbs of yoga here to remind everyone that all spiritual practice, whether they're yoga or yogi, um, the qigong, tai chi, all forms of meditation basically are just different paths to the same goal. There are some differences between the yoga practice, the and Buddha's practice, but we'll talk about that. So right now we're just going to focus on our body and I remind you that in the 8 limbs of yoga, a big part of that is called asana, right? That's the body. That's what we do in the Western world. But in addition to that, there is also the practice of the mind. And then bridging between the body and the mind is the practice of the breath, right? So that's called pranayama. And so today we're going to be focusing on the practice of the breath. And at the end, we're going to be doing floor exercise, a breathing exercise. And we're going to start by doing some joint exercise, but the joint exercise is more about the joints. It's really working from the wrist to the elbow to the shoulder, and then kind of increasing the lung capacity by exercising indirectly the diaphragm, right? Okay, so in addition, at 9 o'clock, this is going to be an hour and a half. At 9 o'clock, I'll be doing a Dharma talk, which is optional. If you cannot stay, it would be fine. And if you want to stay, but then schedule doesn't allow it, then be sure that um, everything here is recorded. All right. Okay. So let's just start with our um, practice of the body now, doing joint exercise. So keep in mind that when I say the 8 limbs of yoga, the word yoga originally is called yuja, which means mind, body together. It actually meant the piece of wood that you put in front of two oxen as they pulled the cart. So it's really synchronizing the body and the mind. That's the key of the yoga practice. So I want you to locate the bottom of your spine, anchor your mind at the very bottom of your spine, move along the spine towards the top of the head very slowly. As you move, I want you to imagine you're stretching your spine one joint at a time. Keep stretching as if you're hanging the spine on the ceiling. And then I want you to lean back the upper torso and then relax. Then I want you to anchor your mind on top of your shoulder. Lift up your shoulder as if you're bringing the shoulder to your ear level. And then I want you to open the shoulder as if you're squeezing a tennis ball in the back. And then I want you to lower the shoulder and completely relax. Now I want you to anchor on the center of your palm. Then I want you to bring the hands up slowly, mind, body together, all the way up to shoulder level. We're going to be starting to joint exercise, starting with the wrist. I want you to turn the wrist, but when you turn the wrist, I want you to understand that each turn is independent of the other. Each turn has a beginning and an end. And at the beginning of the turn, I want you to examine your mind. Make sure your mind is actually anchored on your wrist. And if your mind is somewhere else, now's a good time to bring the mind back, invite the mind back to the wrist. And as you turn, I want you to focus on the change in your wrist. See if there's any heat, sweat, numbness, pain, even. And then when you finish, when you get to the end of the turn, I want you to recommit to the next one and just say to yourself, one turn only. All I want to do is focus entirely on that one turn. And then when I finish, I can then recommit. And every time you start, you check to make sure that your mind is actually anchored on your wrist, one turn at a time. Now I want you to turn the other way. Again, check your mind, make sure that your mind is in fact anchored on your wrist. And if it's not, invite your mind back one turn at a time. When you invite your mind back, just tell your mind, I just need you to focus on one turn. And when we're done with one turn, then we'll do the other one at a time. Each one is as if you're starting from zero, one turn at a time, one turn at a time. Now I want you to lower your hand. So before you do that, anchor your mind at the center of your palm, bring your hands down the same way you brought it up. And then now I want you to stretch the spine again, stretch it as hard as you can. Then I want you to lift up the shoulder. Then I want you to open the shoulder. And as you open the shoulder, lean back, the upper torso, relax the shoulder, relax your spine. We're moving from the wrist to the elbow. Once again, focus on the center of your palm. Bring your hands up, all the way up. Now I want you to focus on your elbow, one turn at a time, one turn at a time. There's a beginning and then there's an end. Beginning is when you want to make the commitment. Once you make the commitment, you will say, yes, I'm going to commit to following my elbow from the beginning all the way to the end. I'm going to be committed to focusing on the change on my elbow, examining my elbow to see if there's any heat, sweat, pain, numbness, any kind of feeling. And then when you finish with one turn, that's the time to recommit. Recommit, and one turn at a time, one turn at a time. Now we're going to turn the other way. And now is a good time to examine your mind. Make sure that you are actually anchored on your elbow. One turn at a time, one turn at a time. And then now I want you to lower your hand. And before you lower your hand, make sure that your mind is at the center of your palm. Now I want you to stretch your spine again, mind, body together. I want you to lift up the shoulder again, all the way up. Then I want you to open the shoulder. As you open the shoulder, lean back, relax your shoulder, relax your spine. Now we're going to move from the wrist to the elbow to the shoulder. I want you to focus on the center of your palm. Bring up your hand, crossing your hand slowly in front of you, on top of you. And then when you get to the very top, I want you to stretch as hard as you can. And before you come down, I want you to focus on the center of your palm, anchor your mind on the center of your palm, open that wrist, open that shoulder, feel the pain on your shoulder, let go of that pain, focus on the center of your palm again, bring it back up in front of you, on top of you. And then I want you to stretch again as hard as you can. Focus on the center of your palm. Turn your palm so that the center of your palm are facing outward. Open the shoulder. Feel the change in your shoulder. Feel that pain. Let go of the pain. Come back to the center of your palm. Completely let go of that pain. Don't let that pain metastasize into suffering. Focus on the center of your palm. Open the shoulder. Come back. Relax. Start from zero again. Come up in front of you, on top of you. Stretch. Focus on the center of your palm. Turn your palm outward as if you're touching the wall. Feel the change in your shoulder. Let go of that pain. Come back. Stretch. Open. Relax. I'm going to do that two more times. Following the center of your palm. Stretch. Open. Feel the pain. Let go of the pain. Focus on the center of your palm again. One more time. Stretch. Open. And then relax. Now we're going to go the other way. So follow your palm. Open first. Stretch. Bring it back down. Open first. Stretch. And then bring it back down. Open first. Stretch. And then bring it back down. One more time. Open first. Stretch. And then bring it back down. Mind, body together. And now we're going to go from forward to back. So once again, stretch your spine. Lift up your shoulder. Open your shoulder. Lean back and relax. Once again, focus on the center of your palm. Follow the center of your palm in front of you, on top of you. Now open as far back as you can. Really feel the pain. Let go of the pain. Come back to the center palm. What's past is past. Don't follow that pain. Open first. Feel the pain. Let go of the pain. Come back to the center of your palm. Up all the way back. Feel the pain. Let go of the pain. Come back to the center of your palm. Two more times. Open. Feel it. Accept it. And then let it go. One more time. Feel it. Accept it. And then let it go. Sit up straight in the back. Stretch. Bring it back down. All the way back. Stretch. Bring it back down. All the way back. Stretch. Bring it back down. All the way back. Stretch. And then bring it back down. One more time. All the way back. Stretch. And then bring it back down. Okay. Now, every Tuesday night, we have a meditation session and then also a Dharma talk with Venerable Hong, as you know. And every first Tuesday of the month, it's done in English, and they're all recorded on YouTube and Facebook. Now, last Tuesday, we had a special guest, a professor, a PhD in psychology, a woman originally from Singapore. So his first language is actually English, but in addition, he speaks Mandarin, Cantonese, Malay, and Farsi. Her husband is actually Persian, so they have kids growing up and want them to be bilingual. So she actually learned to speak Farsi as well. Very amazing person. Spent her dedicate her life to bringing mental health to people, especially to the LBGT community as well as the elderly. Now, we're going to be taking two Tuesdays off because, as it turns out, the next two Tuesdays are the Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. But then the following Tuesday, she will come back. That again is the first Tuesday of the year, the 7th of January. And then she would be talking about the same topic, which is mental health 101, but this time in her first language, which is English. So I want you to put that on your calendar and either join it real time or follow with the recording. Now, last time on Tuesday, when she talks about how um, a big part of the mental health is to recognize things that can be changed and things that cannot be changed. And when you recognize that there are just things that you can't change, then you have to learn to accept it. And her teaching, she summarized it into four letters: RAIN, rain, as in bringing rain to the desert, to those who are desperate need relief from their unhappiness. Now, R in this case stands for recognition, right? A stands for acceptance. I stands for investigation. In other words, when you sometimes you need to kind of transpose and put yourself in other people's place and see why is it that they feel what they feel. And then finally, and means, I believe it means non identification. Don't label other people, right? Don't label. Now, that's very similar to our teaching here. That's very similar to our teaching here. And our teaching is also about accepting things that you cannot change. And we do that in the simplest way possible, which is how do you deal with pain, particularly physical pain, right? How do you um, feel that pain, accept that pain, and then let go of the pain? And once you build that into your muscle memory, the next time when you have mental pain, when people do things to you, when given what's going to happen to our country, the the people got elected, the people that are going to be in position of power, there's going to be a lot of mental pain, right? And you just have to understand that, hey, it's a free election. They were actually popularly elected this time. And you just have to say, right, I'm just going to endure it. And hopefully there's light at the end of the tunnel. And but in the meantime, I'm going to learn to um, feel it, accept it, and then let it go. And don't let that become you. All right. That's the only way you can survive this dark tunnel. So let's continue with that, continue with this practice. Now, as it turns out, this practice up until now, this practice is part of what we call the four foundations of mindfulness. This particular one is called the mindfulness of the feeling, uh, and mainly on the physical side and not on the mental side, right? Now, as time goes on in my Dharma talk, we're going to be talking about the 37 factors of enlightenment. And the 37 factors are basically composed of seven overlapping puzzles. And one of that is called the four foundations of mindfulness. We have plenty of time to explore that. Okay, so let's get back to our practice, get back to practicing the one of the very important foundations of mindfulness, which is the mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of the pain. And so we're going to do some more shoulder joint exercise. Let's come back to our body. Remember now, this is body, mind together. As much as we practice the body, the asana, we also need to practice the mind. And then at the right time, we will practice our breath. So come back to a center, come back to our body, focus on the lower part of your spine, move towards the top of the head, stretch your spine one joint at a time, one joint at a time, and joint at a time until as if you're hanging your spine on the ceiling. Then I want you to lift up your shoulder, lift it all the way up as if you're bringing your shoulder to the ears. Then I want you to open the shoulder as if you're squeezing the tennis ball in the back. I want you to lean back your upper torso, relax the shoulder, completely relax the spine. All right. Then I want you to put your left hand in front, right hand stretching out, separating the left brain from the right brain. I want you to focus on the right arm. I want you to not move anything on the left arm. Then I want you to take the right arm, making a circle in front, following the center of your palm. Then I want you to lift up your arm, bring it as far back as you can. Feel the pain on your shoulder. Let go of the pain. Come back, focus on the left hand now. Let's continue making a nice big circle. Open the shoulder, feel the pain, accept that pain, let go of the pain, sit up straight, right hand side, feel the pain, accept that pain, let go of the pain, left side, feel it, accept it, and then let it go. Let go means that we are anchoring our mind on our body, particularly now on the right hand. Get ready, feel it, accept it, and then let it go. To the left, very gently, feel it, accept it, and then let it go. Well, two more times, okay? Right hand, feel it, accept it, and then let it go. One last time, sit up straight, feel it, accept it, and then let it go. Back to your breath. Now, up until now, we've been doing meditation, but meditation while we're moving. We move when we walk, we move when we exercise, right? And typically, people think of meditation as in sitting, maybe standing. But in fact, we have four postures: sitting, standing, lying down. Those are the three static form. That's when we're mindful of a breath. When we're moving, like walking, exercising, or doing any kind of chore, right? I mean, basically, when you're awake, you are moving. So that's the time when you need to say, hey, I'm going to make use of that, and I'm going to meditate while I move, which means that I'm going to be paying attention to my body. But now we're going to come back to sitting, which means that we're going from one end to the other, and we're now mindful to our breath. We're going to be doing the same thing, which eventually we will be anchoring a mind. And but for now, we're going to start with just knowing that I'm breathing in, knowing that I'm breathing out, one breath at a time. I know I'm breathing in. I know I'm breathing out, one breath at a time. Okay. So I talk about how to let go of your pain, whether it's physical or mental or spiritual, and because it's important. It's important, right? Because as I said, we're at the beginning of a what I would consider a very dark period, and so it's important that we learn to weaponize our body and the mind to protect ourselves, right? But there's another reason, which is stress kill stress kill, right? And even without this election, modern people are already under a lot of stress. And the stress create emotion, and the emotion brings bad health. And so we need to kind of learn to relax, learn to activate the parasympathetic nerve, autonomous nervous system, learn to rest and digest. Basically, learn to maintain the balance between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So as we continue the next part now, we're going to learn how to activate our parasympathetic nerve and especially activate the vagus nerve, right, which is a big part of the autonomous nerve system. And before we do that, we're going to do a little bit of energetic exercise, and then we're going to come back and do some restorative exercise. After we do this two exercise, then we're going to start to do some sitting meditation. All right. I don't understand that, Margaret. Well, you said in the start time, where is that one place I can shine my own why and help other beings? Okay. All right. So let me think about that. Maybe there's some misspelling there. Maybe you can try it again. All right, so let's do an energetic exercise by throwing a shoulder and a fist, creating action and reaction. So the action is what we call yang. That's an energetic part of our energy system. Yang means under the sun, right? So when we used to live in a cave, we were in an energetic state when we get out of the comfort of a cave when we're under the sun. And in the absence of the sun is when we're restorative. So when we restore a fist, there is an action and reaction, which basically causes the chi to flow from the inside to the extremities, and then the reaction is to come back. So this is not just the body, this is actually the chi now. All right. Matt says, I miss the old classes when we didn't focus on politics. This class used to be more positive. I am a very positive person. There's nothing about me that is negative. I am also a very realistic person, and I understand that I'm narrowing my audience since the election. I'm speaking to those who are like me, who are mourning for dark, dark tunnel, right? Being very honest with ourselves, being very pragmatic about what's going to come, and I focus it much more narrowly as before, and um, um, which means that some people would not like it. Some people will not like it. In fact, I'm very blunt about this. If you vote for Trump, you're in the wrong class. So if you vote for Trump, you might as well just get out now. You don't belong here. Okay. Now, I talk about the people that I'm focusing on now. And I use the example of the Buddha who was walking with his attendant, and they saw a banyan tree. And so Buddha turned to his attendant and says, Do you understand? than this banyan tree. And he speaks about the banyan tree as he was explaining about a mind. A mind is a very not so well understood faculty, and he speaks about um, karma. Karma is um, a record of our mental volition. So for every virtuous thought, it leaves behind a virtuous seed. And for every non-virtuous thought, it equally leaves behind a non-virtuous seed. And the banyan tree is an example of that, where you actually start with we were once before a purified being, but for one reason or another, someone dropped a non-virtuous seed on next to us, which could be hate, which could be violence. Now, if we let that grow, then eventually it would and it would consume us. And so, as a spiritual meditator, as a practitioner, our job is to prevent those non-virtual seeds from growing in our subconsciousness. That's what it's all about. Now, I understand that since the election, I had made a conscious effort to move closer to a spiritual practice. That was a decision that I made because I feel that there are people who need that. Now, if you don't like that, then this is not the place for you. It's just that simple. Okay. This is a very, very um, amazing platform inside Timer. In any one second, there's over 100,000 people here meditating. There are over 10,000 teachers here. There are choices that you can make. There are choices that you can make. All right. I made my choice. Okay. All right. So let's continue. We're going to start focusing on the body, the mind, and the chi, and particularly the breathing part of chi. And then optionally, you can stay for the Dharma lecture, right? I am not a negative person. I don't see darkness. When I close my eye, I only see light. I hope you do too. All right. Okay. So let's continue and just do a energetic exercise first, and then which would um, which would activate our sympathetic nerve, and then we're going to finish with a restorative exercise which would activate the parasympathetic nerve. So, all right. So once again, stretch the spine, open the shoulder, lean back, relax, and then we're going to bring out the right hand, focusing on the center of your right palm, and we're going to make a fist. We're going to follow the fist and go up. We're going to wait to feel the vibration coming back to our shoulder. Then we're going to do the other hand up, come back, sit up straight, down, sit up straight, down, sit up straight, up, up, down, down. One more time. Up, up, down, down. Now we're going to do two hands at the same time. Follow the center of my palm and go one. Feel the vibration coming back. Two, three, four, and five. All right. And now we're going to do a restorative exercise by activating our vagus nerve. And we're going to basically follow the initial exercise that we do, which is about stretching our spine and opening our shoulder. Let's do that first. Stretch spine towards the ceiling, one joint at a time. Lift up the shoulder, open the shoulder, lean back and relax. Now we're going to take the thumb and put that in front of the shoulder, slightly roll up the fingers. Now this exercise basically can be separated into four different steps. The first one, we're going to lift up our shoulder, lift up our elbow, stretch the spine upward as if you're bringing the shoulder to the ears. The second part is when you point the elbow back, open that shoulder as if you're squeezing a tennis ball in the back, and then lower your elbow, relax, and then finally point the elbow forward, looking straight down. Now you can be bending your back as well as your neck, and you're going to come back to the initial position, which is about lifting your elbow, looking straight ahead, opening your shoulder, pointing your elbow back. You'll be looking at the ceiling about 45-degree. And then you're going to bring your elbow down, looking straight ahead. And continue until you're pointing your elbow forward. You're looking down again. And then from here, you're going to close your mouth and we're going to breathe in through our nose very gently. Breathe in all the way in until you're completely open, the shoulder completely open. And then you're going to breathe out all the way out until you're pointing your elbow forward. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. In, lift up the body, open the shoulder. Out, relax all the way down, pointing your elbow forward. In, out. Breathe in, breathe out. In, out. We're going to do that two more times. Breathe in, breathe out. One last time. Breathe in. And now lower your hand, completely relax. Going to start our sitting meditation now, right? Okay, let me go back. I noticed that there was a whole bunch of comments. People seem to get very agitated, very excited. And okay, back to Matt. I missed the old classes when we didn't focus on politics. I did not focus on politics. I focused on the reality. This class used to be much more positive. It continues to be very positive. Trust me. We're focusing on building healthy resistance so we can remain positive. Thank you. No, glad Danny speaks of politics. I feel I'm not alone. You are not alone. All right. I appreciate hearing you talk about it. Naming it allow us to be present and prepare. I appreciate the opportunity to sit with our reality and seek a path of healthy mindfulness for our own resilience and for the well-being of all. I couldn't have said it better. I appreciate your talk. You're very positive. I like your honesty. Prepare for it. Prepare for it. Prepare for it. This is to keep it real. Thank you, Danny. I appreciate the integration of practice and preparation. No spiritual bypass here. Oh, to speak truth, I thank you for such honesty. Our earth is in so much trouble and need us. So does the animals. All right. The beings. Now we're going to talk about that after the exercise. What does it mean to be compassionate to all beings? Um, all right. Okay. More of the same. Appreciate being with people who support diversity, inclusivity. Thank you. I am diverse and I am I am your audience. Many of us hold pain. This is a good one. Many of us hold pain and grief and some anger. Okay. Name, allow, then breathe through and move through, and thus acknowledge the darkness of politics and the light that can shine within all beings. Thank you so much for that. All right. If you ask me why, if you ask me what was the revelation, right? Because 2000, the year 2000, I believe it was March 23rd, It was I believe it was either 23rd or 21st. It was the night before the St. Patrick's Day, I remember. And the city declared um, um, uh, essentially a quarantine, right? We all have to stay home. I remember that very well. I was actually having lunch. And as soon as I get home, I had a revelation. I had a revelation that says, "Hey, we need to make it real." So that's when I started online, moving all my activities online, and teaching all my Chinese-speaking grandmothers how to use Zoom. Do you think that was easy? And the revelation was that, hey, the vaccine will come. That's going to help. But what we really need to do is strengthen our own body and improve our own immune system. And it was very urgent. Now the same revelation came after the election, which was, if I wanted to explain it in a as plainly as I can, is about building a nation within a nation. Now you think that's dark? Building a nation within a nation, right? And things are happening to our own country right now that makes it very dark. And we need to think about how to build a nation of what I call Shambhala warriors. These are people who practice spiritually so that they have the defensive weapons of wisdom on one hand and compassion on the other hand. And that's the only way that you can ride through this dark time without losing yourself. Okay? So the revelation was that it was time to build a community. It was time to build a community of like-minded people who accept the reality of what's going on around us as if we are exiles in our own country, right? That we need to bond and give each other strength and benefit from each other's dedications to our own mental health by understanding how our mind works, how to liberate our mind, how to deal with the pain and the suffering, how to deal with the pain and not it become suffering. Okay? All right, enough talk. Let's just continue. Very important part of our practice here is the sitting meditation. All right. Now, even though I talk about the four postures, everything come back to the sitting meditation. All right. And in fact, we talk about the sitting meditation as the earth element. And so imagine your earth element sometimes needs water, right? You don't have enough vitality in your body. Then you add water to it, and water is the lying down posture. So sometimes it's important to, when you're so tired, so lack of vitality, and yet you want to meditate, you want to spend some time doing some lying down meditation. Use the water element to bring vitality to the earth. All right. Now sometimes the earth is very cold, right? The earth is very cold, and you just don't have it to sit. Then you need to bring the fire element. The fire element is a standing posture, so you need to stand a little bit before you come back to sit. Similarly, sometimes you need to irrigate your earth with more oxygen, more wind. And so you do a little bit of walking meditation before you sit, but you always come back to the sitting. And you never just sit. Don't ever just get up in the morning and says, I'm going to sit for 15 minutes and just boom, sit down. Your body's not ready for that. So go have lunch, breakfast, go walk around, do whatever you do first. Get the body energized. Then you sit. All right. Now, when you sit, you got to be prepared for this. Okay. Your mind has to be prepared for your sitting meditation because it's a lot of work. And you do that by first focusing on your posture. You divide your body into seven parts. Keep in mind that you sit like the bell, you stand like the pine tree, you lie down like the bow, like in bow and arrow, and you walk like the wind. So when you think about the sitting posture, you think about yourself like the bell, the liberty bell, and your legs are the pedestal to this bell. And so you want to make sure that you don't use any muscle here. Okay? Muscle means fire. You don't want that. So you want to put some blankets and pillows and make sure that this is like the pedestal. And now is not the time to do mudra or gesture. And if you have to do it, at least rest it on your knee, on your thigh. Don't lift it up. If you lift it up, you use muscle again. So just rest your arm, rest it wherever you like. That's the second part. The third part is the most important part, which is the spine. So come back. The spine is like the little clapper inside the bell. And I want you to start at the lower part of your spine. Same as what we've been doing. Walk up your spine one step at a time. Stretch your spine towards the ceiling as if you're hanging your spine onto the ceiling, right? Your spine is the center part of your bell. Then I want you to lean back and relax. Now, there's a little bit of improvement you can do here, okay? Maybe not so much in the beginning, but I want to show you how to sit properly. This is not part of the yoga practice. That doesn't exist in North India. That only exists in China, which is after you lift up your body, stretch towards the ceiling, you first lean forward. Okay, now you lean back, but when you lean back, you hold your hip in place and you lean back. And as you lean back, you feel the stress on the two sides where your kidneys are, and you keep that, maintain that pressure. You lean back and then relax. All right, that's a little refinement and it's optional. Then you go to your shoulder, you lift up your shoulder, you open your shoulder, and then you relax your shoulder. Relax. Then you focus on your forehead, you lean back the forehead, and then you tuck in your chin. That way, the weight of the head is on top of your shoulder, on top of your spine, and the top of your head, where all the yang energy is concentrated, is actually pointing towards the sky on top of your central nervous system. Then you want to shut your eye, you want to close your eye, but you don't want to shut it tight because if you shut it tight, you're putting stress on your eyelid again. So I want you to relax the eyelid. Imagine your eyelid like a window shade, and then just relax. So you can actually see some light coming through your eyelashes. And this is how the baby sleeps. They don't sleep by shutting the eye. They just relax your eyelid. Then I want you to take the tip of the tongue and put it behind here, or just in the energy point, is at the bottom of your nose and between the bottom of your nose and the top of your lip. Right there is where the yang energy and the yin energy meets. And I want you to take the tip of the tongue and put it right behind here, which is where the teeth meets the roof of your mouth. And this one does three things. One, it creates a conductive path. Two, it actually turns on your rest and digest. Okay, so you actually you're forcing yourself into the parasympathetic nerve state. And finally, once you're in the parasympathetic state, once you're in the rest and digest, you're reactivating your saliva gland, which means that you're reactivating your immune system and your digestive system. Now, by putting your tongue this way, it forces the saliva to flow into your stomach and not into your lung. And I don't know if you ever noticed, but people who meditate tend to cough a lot, choke a lot, because they didn't understand that when they meditate correctly, they generate saliva, and the saliva, if it flowed into your lung, you would choke on it. Okay, so this is it. This is the 7 support point sitting posture. Now, if you look up, I'll see if I can post that on our group. There's a picture that shows the practice of the microcosmic orbit, very detailed picture. And I cannot post any link. That's the unfortunate part, but I can post how you would search for it. And when you see that diagram, you would see some interesting things. This is a diagram that is actually picked up by the archaeologists. They date it back to about 1,000 year old, and it shows a mountain with streams, and it shows 4 little circle sphere. It actually symbolizes 4 energy points, 2 which is in the back. So that's why you move the hip forward and you lean back. This is the source of your kidney energy. Okay, and it also shows two more energy points. One is below the belly button that we call the sea of chi. This is in fact the place where you receive the energy from your mom when you're inside the womb, in addition to the nutrient which comes through the, the, the umbilical cord. And then opposite to that is another energy point right behind called the door of your life. Okay, so keep in mind that there are four energy points. We're going to do the first step, which is mindful of our body to create chi. The way you do that after you maintain your posture is that you focus on your breathing. You say to yourself, I know that I'm breathing in. I know that I'm breathing out. Now you focus on the belly button. In fact, it's 1 inch below the belly button. And again, maintaining the pressure on your kidney. And when you know that you're breathing in, you move the belly button forward. In fact, you're moving the energy point right below the belly button forward. And when you breathe out, you move the belly button back as if you're taking this energy point and collapse it with the one in the back, all right? Bringing the yin energy and the yang energy together. And when you breathe in, again, move forward. When you breathe out, move backward. And sit for 3 minutes, practicing the first step that I call mindful of the body to create the chi. Okay. All right. So that's basically kind of cranking the engine, get the engine started. Okay. Now we continue. The next step, the first step is I translate into something called mindful of your body to create the chi. The second part I translate roughly into um, unleash your mind. Okay, unleash your mind to unleash your. I forgot how I translate, but um, anyway, it has to do with the chi in the mind. It doesn't matter. I write it down. I will write it down for you. But anyway, now we're gonna let go of the belly button. We're gonna continue to feel our breathing in and breathing out. You notice that when you breathe in, your stomach opens slightly, and when you breathe out, your stomach collapses slightly. Maintain that feeling. Now I want you to put it, you can anchor your mind at the very lower part of your spine. And as you breathe in, I want you to move towards the top of the head slowly and stretch your spine as you do that. And then when you breathe out, I want you to stop at the top of the head. Come down through your forehead, through your nose, through your tongue, and move towards the belly button. And when you do that, I want you to lean back and relax. Breathe in, stretch to the top of the head. Breathe out, lean back, relax, come back to the belly button. Now, in a way, you can explain that using modern science, which is that when you focus on the abdominal breathing, you're massaging your small intestines with your diaphragm, and the intestines are piezoelectric, which means that you generate some static electricity. And now what you're doing is you're creating an electric potential with your brain, in fact, with the chamber between the left brain and the right brain, and you bring that electricity up and down. The more traditional way of explaining it is that you're exercising your kidney energy, which is water. And you do that by breathing. Your lung energy is mineral. So you're adding vitality to the water. And then you're letting your water rise by adding the fire element. The mind and the heart are the fire element. All right. So you're creating this circulation of chi. All right. So let's come back. Once again, come back to our posture, stretch, lift up a shoulder, lean back, open a shoulder, relax, lean back the forehead, tuck in the chin, make sure your tongue is touching the roof of your mouth, and then focus on your breath. And when you know that you're breathing in, you start at the bottom of your spine. Now make sure you stretch the spine as you go to the top of the head. And then when you breathe out, make sure that you're actually leaning back slightly and relax. And one more thing, imagine your abdomen, your dantian is like the lotus pond. And imagine you're letting all your trouble, all your anxiety um, sink to the bottom of your pond. Okay, now this process, this sedimentation process, is in fact what Zen means. So once again, breathe in, stretch towards the ceiling. Breathe out, come back, lean back, relax, and let all your troubles sink all the way down. Okay, now let's sit for 3 minutes. Then we're going to do our full exercise. Okay, open your eyes. All right. So clearly, 3 plus 3 is only 6 minutes. That's by far not enough, right? And that's why I call this session boot camp, right? This is where you come back once a week to sharpen your knife, and I want you to think that you can that you practice this on your own, right? And so if you practice this, I want you to practice for at least 15 minutes, right? Why 15 minutes? There's 1,440 minutes in a day. 15 minutes is about 1%, a little bit over 1%. And so your return is 99 to 1, which is a good bet, right? So do that in the morning, or do that at night, or do that in the morning and night. But again, make sure that you don't do it when you're tired. If you're tired, then you do lying down meditation. Lying down meditation at night is a good way to prepare the sitting meditation, adding the water element to the earth, right? And but in the morning, when you wake up, you're not quite there yet, right? Then a standing meditation would be good. Stand first, then sit down, adding fire element to earth. Okay. And if you think that you want to practice during the day after a lunch, then you want to do a walking meditation before you sit down, right? Walking meditation is the wind, it irrigates the earth, right? I mean, put more oxygens into your, otherwise, you don't, you'll be sleeping during if you do it after a meal, all right? And if you practice this for any length of time. This is a really good practice. If you practice for any time, two things. One is that you actually feel some energy rising in your spine as you move up. You're no longer guiding your chi, you're actually following your chi. That's one. The other one is that you start to notice that your head is much more cooler than before. Your body is lighter than before, and your abdomen is warmer than before, and you start to have slivers inside your mouth, right? Which in the traditional explanation is your water element is rising and your fire element is settling in. So you're mixing the water and fire. It's just like when you grow vegetable, you want the sun and the water to work together, not separately, right? Correct? Okay. So that's how you feel. And then you go further and you feel like, oh, all of a sudden 15 minutes is easy because time has a different definition now. Okay, so all of that would happen to you. Now we're gonna do the floor exercise, which is another form of meditation. Actually, it's a very important preparation for quality, right? Improving the quality of your sitting meditation. The pranayama, I call it, right, has three main benefits. One, it exercises your diaphragm, increasing your lung capacity when you breathe in, and allows you to force more of the stale air at the bottom of your lung out when you breathe out. That's very good. Second one is that it's a moving meditation, right? So we're going to do that. And then finally is that it's exercise designed to deliver oxygen to all the vital organs, right? Okay, let's do that. Let's before we do that, let's loosen up a knee, do some joint exercise on the knee. Okay, so put your hands on the knee, go one mindfully, two mindfully, three, four, and five. The other way, one, two, three, four, and five. Now, the knee is like the elbow, okay? And now we're gonna move to the heel. The heel is like the wrist. So the right foot first. One, two, three, four, and five. The other way. One, two, three, four, and five. Now to the left. One, two, three, four, and five. The other way. One, two, three, four, and five. Now we're going to do the toes. All right, we're going to be standing on the toes. Now, as it turns out, when you stand on your toes, you actually activate the kidney energy. And if you have a lower back problem, this is a good exercise for you. Okay, but it also does something else. It's exercise on balance, and it forces the left brain and the right brain, forces the harmony between the two. And so, as I said this before, the first sign of dementia is not memory. First sign of dementia is actually balance. All right. So now I want you to focus on top of your head and just kind of move the top of the head with the rest of the body. As you stand on your toes, focus entirely on top of your head. And then when you come down, you impact the heel gently. You do that on carpets, not on hard floor. Okay. Second time, down. Third time, down. All right. Now remember, we throw the fist. Here we're going to throw the leg. All right. Same thing. We're going to kick the leg. But again, we're going to start with the balancing exercise. And when you do that, you focus on top of your head, and you go one, and come back to the top of the head. Two, looking straight ahead. Three. Okay. And then now balance on the right foot. Lift up the left foot. One, two, three. Okay. All right. So now we're ready to do the pranayama. And focus on the center of your palm. One, two, three. Lower your knee and then stand up, relax. As now, one and two is to breathe in, three is to breathe out, four is to relax. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. In, out, in, out. One more time. In, out. In, crossing your hand. Follow the hand out. Close your mouth, okay? In, out. In, out. In, out. One more time. In, out. In, out. All right. So now we're going to do standing meditation. When we stand like the pine tree, right? So we had a, I forgot what date it was. It was 5:30 in the morning and my phone rang and it says there's a tornado coming. I said, what? A tornado in San Francisco? Never heard of that. And then after I had my breakfast, one of my friends called me and said, did you see the tornado? It come through our house. It torn down the fences next door. I said, wow. So then I drove through Golden Gate Park and I see all these trees falling down. So the key to Zen meditation is imagine that you're like the tree. And when you're like the tree, you need to do two things. One is that you need to stand firmly on the ground as if you're growing roots, right? Because you don't have roots, you don't have good roots, you're gonna fall when the tornado comes. The second thing you have to do is you have to relax your body. So you will move, which is okay. You just follow it, all right? And so you let You loosen your knees slightly. You don't have to go like this. Just kind of loosen on it slightly. Don't lock it. Then you open your shoulder. You relax your shoulder. You lean back your forehead. You tuck in your chin, and you relax the forehead. You relax your eyelid, and then whether you put the tip of the tongue in the mouth, behind the teeth, it's okay. It's up to you. And now we want to focus entirely on breath, right? And you know how in Halloween you go to Costco, you buy a big bag of candy, and then when you give out the candy, you give out one at a time, right? So focusing on your breath is like that. You don't focus on that big bag of candies. You focus in on one at a time, one at a time. Forget about that big bag of candies. Forget that you have to stand for 1 minute. It's all about the breath. It's one breath at a time. I can feel my in breath. I can feel my out breath. One breath at a time. Let's stand for 1 minute. Loosening your knee now. Okay. Now we come to the second form, which is called balloon breathing. Right foot first. Put the right foot in front. Lean back so the toes are pointing up. You're actually looking at the ceiling 45-degree. Then you bring up your hand. You follow the center of your palm. You roll your body forward. You embrace yourself, looking straight down 45-degree. The left foot, the heel is up. Then you open back again, following the center of your palm. As you roll forward, close your mouth, breathe in. As you roll backward, close your mouth, breathe out, and relax. Breathe in, breathe out, relax. Breathe in and breathe out, relax. In, out, in, out. Very gently, breathe in. Try to keep your back straight, okay, so you're not hunching. And I hunch naturally, don't follow me. The idea is that you don't put pressure on your lung. Okay, breathe out one more time. Breathe in and breathe out. Now focus on the center of your palm. Bring it down with your mind. Now shift the focus from the center of your palm to the bottom of your feet, and then come back one step, two step. Adjust your posture. Focus on your breath. One breath at a time, as if you're passing out candies one at a time. I know I'm breathing in. I know I'm breathing out. And when you finish, you recommit, okay? Recommit at the beginning again. I know I'm breathing in. I know I'm breathing out. One breath at a time. Okay, now to the left. Left foot first. Lean back, toes pointing up. Bring up your hand, follow the center of your palm, breathe in, and then breathe out. Always relax on your out breath. In, out. In, out. Breathe in, breathe out. In, out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. One more time. In, out. Lower your hand. Back to the standing position. One more minute of standing meditation. Stand like the pine tree. One breath at a time. Commit yourself at the beginning of the in breath. Recommit at the end of the out breath. I'm starting to look at electric vehicle now, and I noticed that the new cars, they don't have any instrumentations. They only have a LCD panel on the side, and all you see is the speed because there's nothing else to see. Back in the days in the early 70s when I was a teenager, we built hot rods, and you have the speedometer, the tachometer, the oil pressure, the oil temperature, the water pressure, the ampere meter, the air intake, all that, all in front of you. Well, in the Buddhist practice, we have something very similar called the paramita or the paramita, depending on the dialect. And it's a measure of your practice, right? It's a measure of your practice. And we have something called the, anyway, we'll talk about that in the future. But there are two that are important here. One is called determination parami, and one is called diligence parami. And so when you do anything in the beginning, that's when you practice your determination parami. Determination parami is when you say, I'm either not going to do it or I'm going to do it with everything I got. I'm going to commit to this one breath at a time, one joint movement at a time. And then when I finish, I'm going to re-up, and that's your diligence or and you're going to do the next one exactly the same one as your first one. That's the practice, okay? All right. So now we're going to do the butterfly. Same thing. Before you do anything, you said to yourself, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this with everything I got. So you lift up your hand, you follow your hand, you lower your hand, you lower your knee, and then you lift it up again. This time you raise your heel, you keep following your hand until you get to the top of the head, the back of the hand are touching. All right. So as you come down, you breathe in. As you go up, you breathe out. Now you finish, you recommit. Come down, breathe in, and then breathe out. One at a time. Breathe in, breathe out. In, out. Breathe in, breathe out. One last time. Breathe in, breathe out. Now lower your hand, And then 1 minute of meditation, right? Remember what I said now, determination and diligence, right? At the beginning is your determination. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this with everything I got. I'm going to focus on my breath. I'm going to observe my in breath. And then I'm going to observe my out breath. When you finish, then you recommit, and that's your diligence pyramid. So I'm going to do the next one at least as good as the first one breath at a time. 1 minute, okay? Okay, now the next one is called push hand. It's very much like a Tai Chi exercise, except that it's not martial art. So there's really no opponent and no defense to speak of. This is just all about you, your body, and your mind, and your breath. All right. So the best way to do this is imagine you have a water wheel in front of you, and you bring your hands from the bottom of the water wheel all the way to the top of the water wheel, and then bring it down. As you bring it down, you lower your body, and then you're looking straight ahead as if you're looking at the axis of the water wheel, and you push through the axis, straight line. Okay? Breathe in. Now, when you breathe in, you just do it very gently, and you breathe all the way down to here. Okay? Breathe in. And then when you breathe out, you as if you're pushing from the back. Remember we were putting pressure in here? And you push from the back. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out all the time. Focus on the center of your palm. No distractions. No thinking of the past. No thinking of the future. All at the present. Breathe in. Looking straight ahead. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Open your shoulder, okay? Breathe out. One last time. Breathe in. Breathe out. Okay. Back to the standing. Okay. Left side. Get ready. Breathe in. Breathe out. Empty your stomach. Breathe in. Breathe out. No thinking, okay? Just feel it. Feel the air coming in. Feel the air going out. Wax on. Wax off. Just feel it. Breathe in. Breathe out. In. Out. In. Out. In. Out. In. Out. One last time. Breathe in. Breathe out. Back to standing. This is the last 1 minute meditation of standing like a pine tree. Okay, we have one more exercise to do. This one mainly about delivering oxygen to your adrenal gland. Okay, it allows you to have what's called adrenal fatigue, meaning that you're under so much stress, you're putting out so much stress hormone that the adrenal gland just gave up. And what happened then is that you get lightheadedness at the very minimum. When you get up from the bed or when you get up from a sitting position, your adrenal gland is not reacting fast enough. And you're changing gravity, changing the center of gravity, and you have lightheadedness. So this one will correct it. If you already have that, then I want to make sure that you have a chair next to you, so you're not going to faint on me. Okay. All right. So we do this by breathing in, and then breathing out. Open your knee all the way down, and then bend your back forward. And then you stand up. You breathe in all the way in, and then you bend your back backward, and then relax. All right, we're only going to do this 2 more times. Breathe out, breathe in, and then relax. One last time. Breathe in, breathe out, sorry, and then breathe in, and then relax. All right. Now we're going to do the last 5 minutes sitting meditation before the end of class. By the way, I reject the notion that I'm political. I'm not a Democrat. I live in San Francisco, so it's the Democratic Party controls the city, but I'm not a Democrat. Okay, I'm offended by the notion that we call illegal aliens undocumented immigrant. I'm offended by that. When I first came to the United States, I was given a card, and the card says legal alien. Alien is someone you cross the border. Legal alien is when you cross it legally. Illegal alien is when you cross it illegally. When you cross the border illegally, you broke the law. You are not an immigrant. I am not political. I am very saddened by what's going on, and I'm determined to protect myself with wisdom and compassion. Now we will continue with this technique that most commonly is called the microcosmic orbit. And we're going to continue to work on the second part. We're going to give it a new name now, and it's called the Wandering Dragon Chasing the Pearl. This comes when you actually can feel the chi rising in your spine. That's called the pearl. And you follow the spine like the dragon follows the pearl. Your dragon is your mind. And the only thing we add here is that it's a wandering dragon. So you need to free your mind. Don't try to beat your mind or your body into submission, but by being very free. And so as you breathe in, you feel the chi rising in your spine. You follow that chi onto the top of your head as if you're a dragon climbing on your spine. But when you get to the top of the head, you don't stay there. You don't immediately go back down. Instead, you imagine that there's a cloud on top of your head. The dragon sees the cloud, recognize it as her ancestor home. So you let go of the dragon, let it enter the cloud. The cloud could be just immediately above your head, or could be 2 feet above your head. When the dragon enters the cloud, you look back at this body, you wait for the out breath, and when the out breath happens, the dragon comes out. You lean back up your torso, you relax. The dragon enters into your lower abdomen. That's called a Dan Tan. Tan means feel, Dan means fire. So imagine that the dragon's entering into the cave. You feel the warmness of the cave. And again, you don't force the dragon to come out. You just let it rest, relax. And when you in breath, when you breathe in again, you come back at the bottom of your spine. You climb up the spine. You get to the top of your head and you let it go. It's a wandering dragon. Okay, let's sit for 5 minutes and then we'll be in the class and then I can do the Dhamma talk. Okay, so let's put our hands together. Give yourself a nice massage, wake up this body. Okay. Okay, so again, the exercise class, whether it's the exercise of the body, the breath, or the mind, that was done. Okay, so hour and a half. Even though I kind of sprinkle it with a little bit about my own opinion about things, it's not meant to be that. It's just meant to be um, um, a practice. So if you want to stay for the Dharma talk, you can. If you don't, it's okay. If you cannot stay, but you wanted to see it later, you can just follow on the recording. So I have two kids. They're not kids anymore. They're in the early 30s now. And but when they were young, they just started to go to school, and they were just starting to be exposed to this concept of discrimination, prejudice. They were taught that. Teachers started to teach the idea of prejudice and discrimination. I was actually offended by that. I was offended by that, that the teacher would teach prejudice and discrimination, because they're trying to turn my kids into victims. So one day I said to my daughter and my son listening, he was the younger one, I said, supposedly in class and your teacher said to you, I don't like you. I just don't like you because of who you are, because of the color of your skin, because of your color of your hair, or whatever, because your last name. Is that discrimination? And my daughter said, yeah, of course it is. Teacher says so. But then I said, if the teacher said to you, said, I like you a lot because you're just like me, or you're not like me, but whatever it is, I like you because of the color of your skin, the color of your eye, the last name, and whatever. Is that discrimination? And my daughter looks at me and she didn't quite know how to answer. I said, the guy who did that, the person who did just that, is as racist as the first person. Don't be a victim. Don't be a victim. So all I wanted to do here, in spite of some misunderstanding, is that I don't want us to be victims. I don't want us to be victims. There are too many people out there who are turning us into victims, institutionalizing victimhood. That's why I'm not political, because I'm neither Democrat nor Republican. Both sides are using us. One side is using hate, and one side is using guilt. I just don't want us to be victims. I don't want us to feel like victims. I want us to be protected with the best that we have, which is our compassion and our loving kindness and our wisdom. But it takes work to get there. And that's why I spoke about the emancipation of a mind. When we're being used by the politician, whether it's guilt or hate, one side versus the other, they're incarcerating us. They're incarcerating us. They're trying to use us. And the only way that would prevent us from being utilized that way is to understand how our mind works. So I spoke about the 5 skandhas: the form, which are the eyes, the physics, the physiology, the ears, the nose, the tongue, and the physics, which are the light, the smell, the taste. That is one part of existence, which is the physical. And to understand how our mind works, we need to go beyond the physical. Beyond the physical is something called perception, right? And that's when our sensation, and that's when we're actually turning our physiology and the physics into neurology, or nerve endings is in the spine. That's why the spine is so important. And then the next step is called the perception, which is when we start to understand what we see, when we start to develop a like and dislike. And then eventually it goes to the next standard, which is called volition, whether it's hate or love or equanimity or jealousy. That's where it came from. It all comes from us. The outside is just a stimulus. But the worst part is that for every mental volition, it leaves behind a record that we call karma. I also speak about the difference between the Buddha teaching and what exists beyond before his time, which is the yogic teaching. And I talk about how before Buddha, karma was considered something that you cannot change because it was used by the oppressor. It was used by the oppressor to maintain their control, to say, oh, you are who you are because that's your karma. Buddha was the one that says, no, you can't change your karma. That's what it's all about. You can change your karma. And you change your karma by two things: understanding what is non virtuous and find a way of not doing any more of that. And improving the sensitivity of your body and your breath so that when one of those non-virtuous thought comes out, you recognize it. You might not recognize it with your brain, but your body says, ooh, that's not good. Or your breath says, ooh, that's not good. And you senses the change in your body and the change in your breath. And you say, okay, one is enough. I'm not going to do it a second time. That's called sedimentation, letting the dirt falls into the bottom of your lotus pond and let the clear water comes up. So try to understand what non-virtuous thoughts are, recognize it, accept it, and then let it go. The other one is to find ways of doing more virtuous thoughts, virtuous volitions. So starting today, I'm going to talk about the Buddhist practice, which is unique because it talks about changing of your karma, right? Emancipating your mind from the dark cloud. So today I'm just going to talk about what someone who considered himself Buddhist would do at the very minimum. Then we're going to talk about more, getting more in depth into what is called uh, in Pali is dasa means 10, kusala means virtuous, karma, patha is 10 ways of improving your karma by avoiding the non-virtuous act. We're going to talk about next time. But most of us, we do this simplest things, which is called the 5 precepts. Someone mentioned we need to be kind to the animals. So the first precept is no killing, very similar to the 10 Amendment, right? Except that this is not just about killing of humans. This is about killing of all beings. No killing. Now keep in mind that these 5 really have nothing to do yet with purification of our mind. Not yet. It's just about stopping all the non-virtuous act. It's actually about protecting others. So non-killing is about protecting the beings. So you say, oh, non-killing, does that mean vegetarian? Being vegetarian? It can, but it doesn't have to be. Then you say, well, that's hypocritical. How can you stop killing if you eat meat? That's a problem. That's a problem. But I want you to know that Buddha himself was not a vegetarian. Many Buddhists are not vegetarians. You go to Japan, the monks eat meat, right? You go to Tibet, the monks eat meat. And the reason that they eat meat has to do with the practice. Buddha was a monk. In Pali, a monk is called a bhikkhu. Bhikkhu means beggar. All his followers at the time were beggars. Why? Because in the beginning, all his followers, all his disciples were rich people. And Buddha wanted to teach them how to renunciate the physical belongings. So he made them into beggars. And every day they get up in the morning, they have to beg for food. Now, begging for food is called alm, G-L-M. It's actually a spiritual practice because for the monk, it's about enunciation, giving up both the status, the ego, and the personal belongings. For those who offer, it's a practice too. They practice generosity. And then after they offer food, the monks receive it. They do some chanting, they give them some blessing, and then they practice gratitude. So in the very beginning, in old days, they don't say that they don't eat meat. They eat whatever is given to them. In fact, the way it was supposed to be is that they get up in the morning and they choose a direction, a different direction each time. So they don't visit the same people. And they don't allow the people who offer them food to actually prepare food for them. They just give them what they have. So they're very poor. They had a small fish today and they want to offer that. And so you eat it. And then every day they change direction. And every day, every time, they only go to 5 houses. And each time they knock, no one answers, they go to the next one. And no one answers, they go to the next one. If they don't get any food that day, they go hungry. And if they knock the first time, they give them lots of food, they still have to go to the second one and the third one and the fifth one. In fact, about 200 years after the death of Buddha, they had a big gathering because they had a big disagreement among the monks. And they eventually settle on 10 things that they disagree on. And you would think that maybe it has to do with money, whether or not the monks can collect money. Turns out that Buddha says, no, you cannot have money because you're supposed to renunciate. You have plenty of money. You have to give it up. So why ask for money? And so 200 years later, some of the monks said, oh, well, that's very inconvenient. People want to offer. They want to offer money. Can we accept money? And some of the monks said, no. But it turns out that as important as that was the last of the 10. The first one, you cannot imagine what was most important that they wanted that they disagree on, that they have to settle, is whether or not the monks can carry salt. So how is that possible? Why is that so important? It turns out that the idea is that if they actually follow Buddha's teaching and they go back for food, what if they have too much? Can they preserve it with salt and eat it for the next day? That was the key. So the reason the first precept is about no killing, it is about protecting the beings, but it's also about protecting yourself. That you don't want to get used to the idea that you can actually kill someone in front of you. That leaves behind very, very bad, very, very non-virtuous karma. And the Buddha says, don't do that. Don't do that. So that's the first precept, no killing. Now, I eat meat. I do eat meat as a convenience because everybody eat meat. All my family eat meat. So I'm not going to make a big deal of not eating meat. If I have to choose, I choose a vegetable just because I don't think meat is that good for me anyway. But I eat meat because it's a non-issue for me. Okay, but I don't kill, right? I don't kill. I don't actually go fishing. I don't go hunting. I don't take alive and actually have it destroyed in front of me or to destroy it next door. I don't eat oyster, not raw oyster, because raw oyster is raw, meaning that it had life before you kill them. Okay, so that's the first precept. It's all about protecting yourself and others. No killing. The second one is no stealing. No taking things that doesn't belong to you. No taking things that without permission. That is to protect your society, right? Protect your others. Now, it gets very subtle. It gets very subtle. So if I go get takeout and it's meant for my wife and I ask for 4 sets of utensil because I want more napkins, is that stealing? Well, you have to think about that. Strictly speaking, yes. Strictly speaking, yes, right? But in a way, it's just protect yourself about not having non-virtuous mental volition and therefore leaving behind non-virtuous karma. The third one is no sexual misconduct, right? Obvious, obvious. Protect your family. Now, in old days, it even includes no premarital sex to protect the person in the village, right? That was the culture that all women had to be virgin when they were married. But that's changing now. So I'm not saying that you have to do that, but at least be faithful to your wife or your husband. That's clearly important. No lying. No lying. Now that gets a little bit tricky. Not telling the whole truth, is that lying? That's tough. That's a very tough one. That's a very tough one, especially from someone who's been a business person. I don't lie. I cannot lie as a business person, right? You cannot say something that is not real. You cannot say something that's not real. But if it's something that was not asked, do you have to volunteer it? Yes, if it's material. You have to make your own judgment. Before I continue, Tiva asked a question. I don't understand how eating meat is not killing. By eating it, one is creating the demand for it to be killed. So even if not doing it oneself, one is purchase eating, is creating the demand that is incentivizing someone else to kill, right? And the answer is yes, 100% correct. I agree totally. But at the same time, let's be compassionate. That's understanding that this is just a path, it's just the beginning. And I think starting with no killing, no overt act of killing someone, taking life from someone, some being right in front of you is a very good beginning. And then over time, if you decided that you don't want to eat meat because is, it would be, um, it would be the same. I think that's fine too. Now, before you put yourself in a very high place to think that I don't eat meat, therefore I'm absolutely not killing, you're wrong. You eat potato, you're killing. There are Indians who don't eat roots of any kind because the act of taking the plant from the soil kills. Think about that. So you can get very absolute, but this is not about being absolute. This is about taking the first step and being compassionate to those who might not take as big a step as you can. So I'm just saying that the five precept only says no killing. Now, if you later on you take what is called the Bodhisattva precepts, then it says exactly no killing, no eating meat. Okay? All right. Yeah. I know I don't disagree. I don't disagree, but let's be compassionate. Okay? Let's be compassionate. Finally, the last one is says no taking intoxicants. No taking intoxicants. Now, I think of that last one as the gate to the rest of the house. Right? I traveled in Europe, and the Germans and the Australians and the Switzerlands, Swiss, they're very funny. I find it very funny. They like locks. So I walk by an old house. I see this little fence in front with the gate, and it's very short, very short. So I can just like climb through without jumping. And it had a big lock in it. I said, "What's the purpose of the lock? I can just climb over the gate." And then you climb over the gate and you get to the door. The door also have locks, three or four of them. They like locks. So the door is what protects your karma, protects you from committing more non-virtuous act, because it would be like leaking, right? So it doesn't matter how much clear water you add in. If you keep leaking, you're never going to make any progress. And so first stop the leak. Don't try to do as little non-virtuous acts as possible. And then you can figure out how to do the virtuous act, right? But the gate is like the first line of defense. I mean, if the person cross over the gate, he gets to the door. If he doesn't cross over the gate, you're one line of defense away from the door, right? So taking no intoxicant doesn't by itself create non-virtuous karma, but it's the gate. It's your last line of defense. All right. So that's enough for today. But I think we have a lot of comments. So let me see if I can answer some of the comments. The comments are very good. So let me go back to Diva and says, I don't understand how eating meat is not killing. By eating it, one is creating the demand for it to be killed. So even if not doing it oneself, one is purchasing and eating, is creating the demand that is incentivizing someone else to kill, right? Answer is yes, that is correct. So good question. And then it says, by consuming after someone else kills it, same idea, not judging, just asking. Got it. To be clear, I eat meat now, was vegetarian for 36 years, but my health shows me I need it. See, some people eat it for health. Um, Dalai Lama eats meat, and he explains it. I eat it because I need it, but he doesn't kill, right? He doesn't kill in front of me. You have someone else kill it for him. A beginning with compassion and room to learn and grow. Appreciate this mindset. I stay with Buddhist monk in a monastery in Japan, and it is a strict vegan diet. Eating plant-based only is one of the best compassionate things we can do as human. It is killing to eat meat, no matter who does it. We always have the choice. It takes compassion and discipline. I believe we can all do it. You know, the monk who served you vegetarian dish in the temple, he himself eat meats and drink alcohol. He said, how is that so? That's a long story. Anything that is living has the potential to die. Okay, all right. Okay. Even eating vegetable. I agree, one is killing even eating vegetable. Veganism is not viable, possible from a health perspective, especially with those who. Okay, yeah, all right, more the same. It's very good comment. So why does the Japanese monk eat meat and drink alcohol and actually have wife and kids? Do you know why? Back in the 19th century, um, America sent some gunboats to Japan to force open their ports. After that, the Japanese decided that they need to modernize to prevent any more invasion from the Westerner. They need to learn the Western way. And they decided that they need to undo the feudal system, which is to take power away from the shoguns and give it back to the emperor. The emperor being a son of a god. So they decided that Shintoism, which is the worship of devas, and Buddhism cannot be co-equal anymore. They need to elevate Shintoism because they need to elevate the emperor. because they need to take away the power from the shogun. If you don't understand that history, the movie Last Samurai tells a little bit of that. Not exactly, but it's not bad for a movie. So in order to elevate shogunism, Shintoism, and push down Buddhism, they have to take support away from the Buddhism, government support, and let Buddhism survive on its own. So they actually passed a law, and the law, you can look this up, the law says eat meat and have wife. It is that specific. And so when you go visit the temple in Japan, the monks have wives. The monks eat meat. The monks drink alcohol, just like a normal person. They abide by essentially the 5 precepts as a householder, even though they wear the robes of the monk. They can only have one son. And if they have a daughter, then the son-in-law would take over the business. And as long as they abide by that, they enjoy tax-free status, and they maintain their temple that way. That's how they maintain their existence. So that was forced upon them. Okay, so they change. But that doesn't mean that they're not a spiritual practitioner. They just have their own way. You have to really understand that. Just understand that. Okay? All right, it's enough for today, huh? So mainly we talk about the 5 precepts. It's a beginning to talk about our spiritual practice. First, plug all the leaks. Plug all the leaks. No more non-virtuous, or at least as little as possible. Then we talk about how to promote the virtuous act. Then we come back to Tina Turner, who practiced virtuous act by practicing gratitude, forgiveness, sharing, okay, all that. All right. Okay, so see you next week. It's way over time. Okay, 下個星期見. Okay.
好
Okay,
thank
bye bye. Thank
you
you. Bye bye.
多謝先，
Okay, 多謝. Okay, bye bye.
拜拜，拜拜，thank